Hey guys, hope your Monday's going well. This is going to be a two-part video series on mindset. So starting with beginner mindset and then looking at more advanced competitor mindset, a little bit more relative to someone who's been competing for quite a while but wants to take their game to the next level. So in the first part, we're going to look at the top 5 things I reckon you should probably focus on going into competition. Okay, so the first point is nerves. How to calm your nerves. The number one thing you can do to improve your performance, especially as a beginner, is to get in control of your nerves. And that really comes down to 2 things. One of them is managing your expectations, so not putting a lot of pressure on yourself to win. Just making sure you go out there and focus on doing your jiu-jitsu. Don't put expectations on yourself to win the match or perform at a high level. Just go out there and do your jiu-jitsu. The second part of that is making sure that you get some experience in, so you're not sort of deer in the headlights when you get out there. And how you can do that is try have some rough rolls in the couple of weeks leading up to the competition, and try to get some competition environment type stuff happening as well with your teammates. Make sure you're starting from standing, make sure you're having aggressive rolls so you can learn to deal with that intensity when it does come up during your match. My second point for beginner mindset with competing would be making sure you have a game plan. Make sure you have an idea of what you're going to try and do, and maybe a little bit of a backup plan as well in case that doesn't work for you. So maybe if you're trying to do a particular takedown into a guard pass, make sure you've repped that enough times in training that it's going to be effective for you. And then maybe have a plan if your opponent pulls guard or if you get taken down, just so you have a bit of an idea of where to take things if it goes your way or if it doesn't go your way. Just having that bit of a game plan, you should see a pretty good increase in your success just from that, just having an idea of where you're trying to take things. Point number 3 is if the worst happens, if you get taken down, you get your guard passed, the person's mounting you on your back within like 10 seconds, it happens. Don't panic, don't freak out, don't give up, and don't try and force your way out too quickly. So don't stress so much about the fact that you're losing very quickly, and don't panic and start to be overwhelmed. Just remain calm, breathe, and slowly work your way out. There's plenty of time to work. I see a lot of people at the beginner level, they start losing quickly in the match and they just snowball and start losing. So it's important just to breathe and focus on what you can do right there and then in the moment. Focus on getting your guard back, from there getting a sweep, getting on top and playing your jiu-jitsu and swinging the match back the other way. Point number 4, one of the hardest ones I think probably to do in the moment under pressure with your adrenaline pumping, is getting overwhelmed by the intensity of the match and just freezing and not being able to listen to your coaches or teammates helping you from the sideline. It's very hard to listen during a match because you're sort of focused on what's happening there and then. But one thing that helps a lot is if you can listen and understand what your coaches or teammates are trying to tell you, they can give you some very helpful information to deal with the technique or situation right in front of you. And it can be a game changer in terms of winning or losing or doing well or getting that grip that you need for the sweep or understanding how to escape a bad position. So try and keep your ears open, try and have a really good idea of where your coach or corner person is sitting, and try to tune into their voice and just listen. Remain calm and listen to them if you can. Okay, so my 5th and final point for beginner's mindset in competition for jiu-jitsu, I would say pretty underrated point, but really important for the long run, I think, is to have fun. If you don't enjoy the experience, there's a good chance you're going to not compete again, or at least compete more sporadically throughout your jiu-jitsu career. This can be pretty detrimental. It's important to try to compete for your progression, you know. I always say one competition is like 30 lessons. So if you can, enjoy the experience, win or loss, you'll probably compete more often and progress quicker. So yeah, hopefully those 5 points are helpful. If you have any questions, flip me a message or put a comment below and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Thanks guys. Hey guys, hope your day's going well. We're going to do the second part of the mindset video. So the first point, keep in mind these are for the more advanced competitor, let's say 30 plus competitions. The first one, I'm going to say it's a bit of a weird one, I guess, but I think this is pretty important. Developing your game to be outside of the box. So many guys are really good at things they've watched on YouTube or things that their coach does, But when you truly develop your own game and harness your own game and your own pathways and your own submissions that you like to do and your own unique style of jiu-jitsu, it's important not to only play that, but also be able to implement it in a way that's not predictable and more difficult to defend as a result of that. So let's say, for example, a lot of people just go, let's say, double leg takedown, pass the guard, get to side control, get to mount, try and get the back and choke. You might have a more complex pathway where you enter a guard people aren't used to defending. Let's say in the case of Craig Jones, he plays Z guard or knee shield guard on the wrong side. So people aren't so used to defending that, makes it a bit harder for them to pass the guard. Consequently, they're not so used to defending the sweeps and submissions from there either. So already just that gives you a really good chance to make it difficult for your opponent to obviously adjust to you, and just that little bit of, I guess, break in their rhythm makes it a lot harder for them to be successful. And if you always play that position, you're going to be a lot better at it than they are at passing it, for example. Mindset tip number 2 for the advanced competitor, I would say, being focused on the long game. So don't just try to go out there guns blazing and beat your opponent, unless it's maybe a one-person division. But typically, if it's anywhere from 3, 4, 5 competitors, you're going to play a different sort of game plan than one competitor. If you start getting up to like big brackets, like 9, 10 person brackets, like you might get at the purple belt level, it's important to pace yourself and fight smart matches. Try and win the ones you believe you can win quickly, very quickly, and the ones you think that are going to be difficult to win fast, try to fight in a way that's efficient, so you're not resorting to relying on a situation at the end of the match where you've blown your gas tank and you still have, let's say, 4 or 5 competitors to go still. It's not going to be conducive to winning the bracket. So make sure you play the long game, research your opponents, find out who you've got, what they might like to try and do, and then set a game plan for not just each match, but for the long game, and try and figure out who you might have in what order and plan accordingly. Okay, mindset tip number 3. Be aware of where you are chronologically in the match. So realize how much time you have left and what's realistic to do with that time. And always try to be aware of the scoreboard as well. If you're down an advantage and you have a couple minutes to work, you can fight as normal. If you're down 2 points and you have a minute left, you might need to change your strategy. I've seen a lot of guys, even at the higher level, lose matches just by ignoring where they are in the match in terms of where the clock is. If you have, a minute left to work, your game plan should be super different to what you would have if you have 10 minutes left. It shouldn't look the same. You shouldn't be trying to get, your sweep to work if you have 30 seconds left and you have the option to try for a submission. It's just, it's dependent on obviously how many points you're behind or how many points you're up and whether it's submission only or not, and a lot of factors. But I guess the point is try to be aware of what's likely to happen with the time you have left and try and use it wisely and have a game plan in your head of what you're going to do if you're down. I'll give you an example. If I have a situation where I'm down 2 points, 30 seconds left, and I have an opportunity to pass the guard, I could win by passing. But 30 seconds on a good guy at the brown black belt level, it's not enough time. If they just have to defend the pass, it's not enough time. So I personally would opt probably for a leg lock or an ankle lock, because I think there's more chance of me getting a submission in that time than there is of me passing and consolidating a lot of the time. So when I go into the match, I'm already aware of that tactic. And if I know where I am in the match, if I know that there's 30 seconds left, I can capitalize on that. Mindset tip number 4 comes into your training before the competition. So what you do in the weeks leading up for the tournament, most of my preparations, if I'm not injured, or if it's not a small tournament, let's say I'm going to fight in a medium-sized tournament or something of reasonable significance to me, I'm going to try to get good training in for about 6 weeks leading up, and I'm going to focus on good volume of rounds, but also I'm going to focus on making sure that I get enough done in those rounds that I feel confident going into the match. If I plan to compete on a moment's notice and my tools aren't sharp, someone else has worked harder than me, they're probably going to win. If I can put my hand on my heart and say I've done 6 weeks of solid prep, I've trained my A game, B game, C game, D game, and I'm pretty confident with my ability to rely on my cardio and my conditioning. I can go into that match with a much stronger mind frame because I know I'm prepared. Just knowing you're prepared for whatever happens will not only let you settle your nerves and remain calm in bad situations, it also just lets you relax and not have to think about stupid things like, oh shit, I'm getting tired, or what should I do next? Oh, I've forgotten how this setup works in the middle of a match. Being prepared physically will make you be prepared mentally as well. My fifth and final tip for experienced competitors, I would say, is finding your threshold in relation to submissions. At the black belt level, most people will let their shoulder, elbow, wrist, ankle all pop before they will tap. They're way more likely not to tap from those things. This comes down to where you're at and how confident you believe you can deal with those things, escaping from those things, and how you feel about, hearing your own arm pop a few times, if you can be comfortable with that or not. You need to sort of know this information before you compete. Like, I know that if I get put in an arm bar, there's not much chance I'm going to tap if the competition is significant to me. If it's a small tournament, you should tap. That's my belief. You should just tap. If it's not important to you and it doesn't really mean much in the scheme of things, you're just getting experience, get caught in an arm bar, you messed up, that's fine. Just tap. If it's a more important tournament and you've been training all year from it, you should go into that competition knowing that your mental strength should rely on, like, I know if I get put in an armbar in this tournament, I'm not going to tap. I'm going to try and work my way out until it's maybe fully locked off and he's popped it a couple of times and I know he's got me, and I'm willing to be responsible to deal with that outcome, and I know how long I'm going to have to recover for. I can accept that loss and accept the fact that I tried to get out. Let's say my threshold for a heel hook. My threshold for a heel hook is very low because I know it's devastating, and even in a competition that means a lot to me, I'm probably not going to see it, as being worth enough to let my leg be destroyed, because I want to be doing jiu-jitsu, for a very long time. I don't want my ligaments damaged, so I'm way more likely to tap from something like a heel hook, even in a bigger tournament. Stuff like chokes, probably not going to tap. Again, it depends on the tournament. There's no point going to sleep if it's just a local tournament. Who cares, If it's the Worlds and you're up 3 points and the guy's your back and he's got 10 seconds to choke you, I'm going to try and hang on. You know what I mean? So it comes down to just knowing what your thresholds are. And it's really helpful to know these things before you go into the tournament. You don't want to be having a debate with yourself in your head, or some guy's trying to tear your arm off about whether or not you feel like tapping. You should know these things before. If you've mentally accepted them, it's much easier to just to focus on, okay, I'm going to tap now, or focus on, okay, I'm not going to tap now. If you're just debating in your head about what you're going to do, that's when things happen that you're not prepared for, not comfortable with, and that's when you're way more likely to get caught in the middle of a position where you should have tapped and you didn't, and you get a bad injury that you're not happy with because you're kind of mad at yourself for not tapping. Conversely, you get caught with for example, you get caught with a Kimura, there's 3 seconds left, you're up 10 points, but you just tap out of instinct because he has you. You could have held on and escaped maybe, but because you weren't mentally prepared and mentally ready for that situation, you just responded in the moment. Whereas being prepared early for those things, you're going to have a much better outcome because you're so much more self-aware of what you will want to do in that situation. Hope you've enjoyed that video. Hope you can understand me okay. I've had my wisdom teeth out recently, so I'm kind of finding it a bit difficult to talk right now, but I hope that video made sense to you. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to send me a DM or even just comment on this video. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have. Also, if you have anything you'd like me to cover off in future videos, feel free to chuck that in comments or DM as well. Thanks, guys.